So Christmas is getting nearer and nearer, and if you're anything like me, the children you're working with are getting more and more excited. But if you're looking for something to keep the children learning, keep the children engaged in their phonics learning in the run up to Christmas, then keep watching because this is the video for you. By the end of this film, you'll have a phonics game that you can play in a small group and then leave out for the children to read over and over and over and over and over again for lots and lots of practice in the run up to Christmas in a way which they will love playing. For more than a decade, I've trained thousands of practitioners, teachers and parents in how to teach phonics and early reading spectacularly well. And on this channel, I'm sharing heaps of phonics games, reading activity ideas and top tips with you. So subscribe to my channel to add a bit of sparkle into your phonics and early reading teaching. And don't forget to click the bell to be notified for new videos every single Thursday. So the game that I'm going to show you today is a game where the children have got to guess what's inside Santa's present. And I like to play this game after I've read this story, Dear Santa by Rod Campbell. And on the face of it, it might seem like a really simple story and too simple almost for children of this age. But actually what it does is it introduces the children to the idea that they can be looking inside and guessing what's inside the present. And also you can get some paper and some post-it notes, and the children can make their own lift the flap books, which is perfect for children's mark making and for writing the sentence, is it a, which is the sentence which we're going to be reading in this game. So before we start the game, I just wanted to mention a few points to do with the freebie that comes with this video. So I've done a few different versions in a few different fonts for the very reason that it's so important to make sure that you follow your school's consistent school approach with font. So if you use precursive, then it's an idea to make sure that all of the font is that. If you use like something like I've got a Sassoon Primary Infant here, if you use that with just the flicks, again, that's really important, because what I've noticed recently is when I'm going into schools with children who struggle, this can be a real barrier when there's lots and lots of different types of fonts and they're trying to learn the same thing, like that I there that was quite different from that I. If they're learning the same thing in different ways, it can be a real struggle. Also, this is a part of consistency, which is something which Ofsted are looking for, with a particular view to supporting that bottom 20% in your class. So have a think about that. Also, the other thing I just wanted to draw your attention to is this idea of sentences with a capital letter or not with a capital letter. And strictly speaking, obviously this isn't really a sentence because it's not got a capital letter at the beginning, but what I'd say is think about your children carefully for this game. If you've got children that are really at that early stage of blending, being able to recognise those sounds to blend the words, and you know that reading this sentence on its own is going to be a struggle, then I wouldn't put the capital letter there, because that's an extra layer of learning that the children need. And we want to be mindful of cognitive overload. We don't want them to have too much to have to think about. So the primary purpose for children at that stage, when they're just at those early stages, is to recognise the letter sound correspondences and blend to read. If you've got some children who you know are confident blenders and will be able to recognise all of the letter sounds in that sentence, then I would definitely introduce that idea of a capital I making the it sound. So obviously this all happens at the stage where we're introducing the game. We can talk about all of these things, and we're not saying that it's not important to teach that, but we've got to make sure that it's manageable, chunk that learning down for children. And what you'll see here is I've got sentences which all relate to the letter sound correspondences that the children have been learning in phase 2, because usually that's where children are in December in reception. So we've got a k, ap, cap, a p, at, pan, a m, at, man, a k, at, cat, and a t, it, tin. So a really simple starting point for our sentences. You can of course make these harder. So if you've got children that are flying with this, we could have words like frog or belt or laptop. We can have much harder words because they're longer words. So think about children who are more able and who've been reading for a long time already. That might be an option, putting in words with adjacent consonants, where you've got two consonants together to be able to help the children to be able to read. That's a really good top tip for being able to stretch those children. So the resources I need for this activity are super simple, so you don't need to be spending ages preparing. So I've got a shoebox here that is being wrapped up in Christmas paper, so that's my mystery Santa Claus box. What's in the box? I've got a man, I've got a pan, I've got a tin, I've got a cat, and I've got a shower cap, because that's always a fascinating, funny thing for the children to look at. So I've got real objects here rather than pictures, and the reason that I use real objects and really heavily recommend that you use real objects is for children with poorer language or who really struggle. Having the real objects not only keeps them more engaged, but it also builds that vocabulary that lots and lots of children are in need of developing. So I'd always go with the real objects. What you might find useful for children with lower levels of language, so children perhaps who haven't got the vocabulary yet, to take some photos on your phone of these objects one at a time and print them off, so that when the children have got the objects in the box, they've got a point of reference. Also, I've got here a yes and a no card. So I've made these, but these could just be written, they don't have to be fancy ones. So no and yes, because when the children are going to be guessing what's inside my box, when they're going to be reading the sentences, I'm going to be looking inside the box and holding up a no or a yes. A no is a tricky word that the children are being learning during phase 2. So it's a really great game to do lots and lots of practice of reading that tricky word no. So we've prepared our sentences and we've prepared our objects, and now all we need to do is prepare the children. So we're going to introduce the game in a moment, but before we do, we're going to practice reading all the words that they're going to find tricky in isolation. This is like what we would call a strategy check. So it's pulling out all of the words from those sentences and reading them all together before the children start to build their confidence. So what I've done here is I've written out all of the words that we need for the game and put sound buttons under them. Now in the game we've not got the sound buttons, and these sound buttons here very much depend on whether this is a whole school approach. So don't start using them if it's not something that the children are used to, and some children do find it a bit overwhelming with all of the dots. So think about whether this would be a suitable approach for you. But generally speaking, what I've done here is I've just written out the words that we're going to use. Now remember, I need to write these out using the consistent handwriting for the school, and we're just going to practice reading these all together. Now I'm going to expect all of the children in the group to join in, so and read with me. So it is, it, it, tin, it, pin, at, pan, at, man, at, cat, at, cat, at on its own. And if I'm teaching the capital I, remember we talked about that before when we were preparing the sentences, if I am going to be doing that with more able children or children who can already blend, I might talk about the fact that this is an I. When you see it on its own, it makes an I sound. When you see it in a word and it's a capital, it'll make the I sound. So you can look at that and say it, because this I is going to be in words, so it's not going to be on its own, so it's going to make an it, not an I sound. So you can make that clear before you start, and that's our strategy check, and then we're ready to play. So this is how you play the what's in the box Santa Claus game, and what I've got here are my sentences, my yes and no cards, and I've hidden one of the objects inside my box. Now, as I said before when we were looking at the resources, I might want to, if I've got children that are going to struggle with remembering the names of the objects that were in the box, I might put photos of them out so that the children can also see those. But this is a kind of a guessing game, and what we're going to do is we are going to read these sentences all together, and then I'm going to have a look in the box, the Santa Claus, and hold up a yes or no to answer the question. So all together the children are going to join in with me. It is, it, is it a, is it a pan, is it a pan? And inside I'm going to take a look. Is it a pan? I'm going to hold up the word no. Next sentence. Is, it, is it a cat? Is it a cap? Is it a cap? Let's have a look. Is it a cap? No. The children are reading this all the time, joining in with me. And what I've done is I've really carefully made sure that the sentence which matches the object that is in the box is at the bottom of my pile. So we've got to actually read all of these sentences before we actually get the object. So it, is it a man? Is it a man? We have a little look. Is it a man? No. So we're going to carry on like that. Now the number of sentences just it kind of depends on the ability of the children, their ability to concentrate. I would try to go for sentences if you can and join in all together rather than just having single words, because it's the joining in all together that makes the difference. What you could do is, if you have more of able children, is put all of the sentences out in front of all of the children and let them have a go one at a time, reading their own sentence and asking the question. That's another way to be able to do it, rather than everybody joining in. So there's two kind of versions there. But last sentence then, is it, is it a cat? Is it a cat? Let me have a look inside. And the answer was yes. Is it a cat? Yes. I really hope your children love playing that Santa What's in the Box game. I've played it hundreds of times now with children, and what really works is the fact that it's such a repetitive game and you're almost training the children to play the game as you play it with them, and then leave it out for them to practice over and over again independently. I bet you'll get amazing results if you play this in your classroom. I can't wait to hear how you got on. Comment below and let me know how you got on. I'd love to hear from you. So if you're not quite ready for Christmas but you're running short on inspiration, then check out this video. This is perfect for children in reception or struggling Year 1 readers who have learnt the whole of Phase 2 but need lots more practice at applying those skills. This Foggy Forest game is great for children to practice over and over again reading those CVC, consonant, vowel, consonant words. And if you are in the mood for Christmas, check this out. I love being able to use the tinsel to make these CVC words and use the baubles to make the dots for the I's and the J's. I don't know any children who don't love playing this game. And if this video has been helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and click the bell to be notified for more phonics and early reading videos every single Thursday. Don't forget to hop on over to our Letters and Sounds Facebook group where we're sharing phonics, top tips and ideas every single day. Thanks for watching and a very happy Christmas.